Are we ready to do this? Okay, we're getting ready to start.
Chamber control temperature is now
Minus 43. Heat exchangers 48 to 50.
That camera looks like it's about to go. We have lost the video feed here.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
evac.
Door!
Holy shit.
This is the Earth, and all this is space. Between them sits a dense layer of gases known as the atmosphere, held firmly in place by the Earth's gravity. Because of the atmosphere, we have a lush, life-supporting climate, and we don't get killed by the harmful radiation from the sun. Unfortunately, the atmosphere can cause this, and this, and this. But the positives far outweigh the negatives, and there's a reason for that. Without the atmosphere, the Earth would look just like Mars, barren, desolate, lifeless. The atmosphere itself is made up of 5 distinct layers. However, it's the second layer, the stratosphere, which has captured the attention of scientists and explorers throughout the years. Starting at an altitude of 6 miles up and reaching a high point of 31 miles. If a road was built straight up, you could drive to the stratosphere in less than half an hour, without traffic. Yet there are more people living in outer space right now than have explored the upper reaches of the stratosphere. Starting in 1931, men and women have attempted to reach the stratosphere using a variety of methods. A few were successful, most were not. Of the first 8 attempts to reach the stratosphere, 6 ended in unconsciousness, injury, or death. Most recently, in 2012, Austrian daredevil Felix Baumgartner jumped from 128,000 feet and returned to Earth unharmed. But in order to set the record for the highest free fall, Felix needed to use a costly and complex pressurized capsule system to help get him there. Pressurized capsules may provide safe passage during the ascent, but during descent, the explorer is on his own. Exposed to dangerous changes in pressure, temperature, and other environmental factors. Felix himself almost lost consciousness from the uncontrollable spinning as he free fell at a speed of more than 800 miles an hour. So why the stratosphere? Why would anyone risk so much to explore this thin sliver of gas? For one, we know very little about it. Because of its inaccessibility, man has explored more of the bottom of the oceans and the farther reaches of space than the top layers of our atmosphere. Unlocking the mysteries of the stratosphere could reveal the secrets behind weather patterns, natural disasters, and climate change. Learning as much as we can about the stratosphere is crucial to our planet's survival and our own. So developing a safe way to explore it is essential, but such a system simply does not exist. But one man has a plan. Is he a NASA engineer, an explorer, a daredevil?
No, I'm definitely not a daredevil.
Meet Alan Eustace, a 57-year-old computer scientist, engineer, and the Senior Vice President of Knowledge at Google. Do you like using Google to search up just about anything on the internet? You can thank Alan and his team for that. But designing search engines and creating map programs weren't the only things occupying his thoughts.
When I first met Alan and he told me that his hobby was skydiving, I knew that underneath that sort of mild manner was a man of steel.
For me, this is kind of the ultimate science project. A while back, I had a kind of a crazy idea on a paper and pencil.
Alan's plan to reach the stratosphere is revolutionary in its simplicity, and it takes inspiration from something that already exists.
So scuba diving allows you to, basically suit up, go underneath the water, see things, but there's not really equivalent for high altitude. And I thought one was possible.
From there, Alan sketched out his plan for a scuba-like system for reaching the heavens. Instead of wearing a pressure suit inside a heavy, complex capsule, Alan would simply use a spacesuit and a gas-filled balloon to lift him to heights greater than 4 times Mount Everest. But this comes with its own set of challenges, from oxygen and atmospheric pressure to regulating his body temperature to survive the sub-zero temperature of the stratosphere. Alan will need a one-of-a-kind pressurized spacesuit that will allow him to access the upper reaches of the stratosphere, free fall over 100,000 feet, and deploy a custom-designed parachute to land back on Earth on his own 2 feet.
I just think it's such a nice, simple approach to a really, really hard problem.
The plan seems simple enough, but it had never been done before. But Alan isn't looking to just develop the system. He's chosen himself to be the pilot.
My first reaction was, really?
I thought he was joking, and then I thought he was crazy.
3 years ago, he came to me and said, I think I'd like to do a stratospheric jump. And I actually thought he was lying.
I would say he's out of his mind, but the truth is, it is Alan. He believes in the Google values. We have a healthy disregard for impossible because that's what changes the world.
So exploration is kind of the heart of everything that we've ever accomplished as a human society. You look at people at Columbus sailing ships, or you look at the Apollo program.
We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Progress requires you to invent things and to push the boundaries, even just a little bit.
We have had the conversation about, you can be involved in the engineering and you can actually be involved in the design, but why do you have to jump? And for him, it is feeling like he experienced everything that he worked on.
There's a long tradition of scientists funding experiments and then doing them on themselves. There's perhaps 2 reasons for that. One is they really, really believe in it. And the second is, if they're going to do something dangerous, they want to take the risk themselves, and I admire that. In Alan's case, he sees it, he wants it, and he'll make it happen.
There's certain amounts of, danger. This is real, this is serious. Mistakes matter, and we have to be very, very careful.
Alan would need to put together a dream team to ensure his safety. His search led him to Grant Anderson, Jane Poynter, and Tabor McCallum, co-founders of Paragon Space Development. Paragon is a premier provider of life support systems and thermal control products for extreme environments. And their clients include NASA, major aerospace companies, and the United States military. Grant came from the aerospace industry,
doing very, very high-tech stuff with Lockheed, everything from what they used to call strategic defense or Star Wars to space station hardware.
As for Jane and Tabor, they met during the Biosphere 2 project in 1989, when they were chosen to be among 8 people living for 2 years inside the biosphere. There, they developed a mutual love and appreciation for space exploration. And from that, Paragon was born.
The team that pulled off Biosphere 2 was very small, and Biosphere 2 was this incredibly audacious project. But it was really seeing the power of a small team that I think really gave us the courage to keep the Stratix team really small.
It didn't take long for Alan to be sold on Paragon. But how did Paragon feel about working with a 57-year-old Google vice president?
Doesn't take very long, a minute or 2, maybe 5 at the most, that you realize that he's a very thoughtful individual. He wasn't flighty or spontaneous in a bad way that would make us question whether he was going to have, A, the long-term commitment and also be concentrating on the safety aspect.
The first 100 problems flood into your mind and you're going, you know, is this really going to happen? And then talking with him a bit more, you know, he was serious that we could really do this. And, you know, I and the team very quickly became very dedicated to solving that long list of problems.
A team was quickly assembled from all walks of the engineering spectrum, each sharing Alan's enthusiasm and boundless optimism. The newly assembled dream team embarks on transforming Alan's napkin sketch into a practical design.
Finding a simple engineering solution is the really hard part. It's actually much easier to make a very, very complex solution to a problem than to find, you know, a wickedly simple, robust solution to a problem.
And the first problem was, how do we actually get a pressure suit? And that was a showstopper.
The suit that Alan needs just doesn't exist. And not only was it going to take a team of people to put together this suit, we had to find a company that was willing to make the suit in the first place.
But you can't just go down to the local spacesuit store and get fitted. Never before has a spacesuit been sold to a private citizen for use in space. And it's been almost 40 years since a new suit was even designed.
So I started visiting the companies that make suits. One after another. It was like, oh, this is going to work. And I intentionally put ILC Lab.
ILC Dover is an industry leader with a legendary reputation.
They made all the Apollo suits, all the moonwalking suits.
But Alan's spacesuit will need to offer even more protection than the suits built for the moon landing, or the suits ILC Dover built for spacewalks on the International Space Station.
So 1 meter to go.
So what's interesting about the StratX system development is how many different, essentially, environments the suit has to keep Alan safe in. So there's on the ground, we have to keep him from overheating. There's in flight, we have to take him through very, very cold air. Then we take him to a space vacuum, essentially, and we have to keep him from overheating. Of course, you have to keep him pressurized. Then he has to be aerodynamically re-entered back through the atmosphere, through all this cold air again. Then he has to fly. Then he has to land, and all of that has to be done safely.
Despite the challenges, ILC Dover eagerly signs on to the project. Together, the two teams begin the manufacturing process.
When the design process was done, ILC Dover built the suit itself, the soft goods. We built the life support pack, what we call the equipment module.
With Paragon and ILC Dover handling the fabrication of the spacesuit, and the legendary Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in India handling the balloon design, that leaves just one other component up in the air, literally. For the design and construction of the parachute system that will bring him down safely, Alan is turning to one of the foremost skydivers in the world, Daniel Blickies Blignot. Alan started skydiving when he was 18 and has completed 570 jumps, so this might seem like the least challenging stage of the mission. However, there's a catch. As anyone who saw Felix Baumgartner's stratospheric jump can recall, Felix endured several agonizing seconds of uncontrollable spinning during his descent that nearly cost him his life. So, in addition to preparing Alan's main chute, Blickies and the team at United Parachute Technologies will also design a smaller, supplemental parachute known as a drogue. The drogue chute opens immediately upon release and should stabilize Alan's descent, avoiding the near-fatal spinning experienced by his predecessor. After nearly a year of development, the system is ready for testing.
There's so many unknowns to the testing phase. Everything, the suit, mission control, the balloon, had to be tested. Part of the challenge was figuring out whether we could even do this in a safe, efficient, and quick way.
This will be the first spacesuit in history designed to do a stable supersonic descent through the atmosphere. To test Alan's ability to control the direction of the suit under those extreme conditions, he is suspended in a wind tunnel and subjected to 170-mile-per-hour gusts of wind. Both Alan and the suit passed the test with flying colors.
Alan definitely has a personality that he liked this because it was so difficult. And the more difficult it got, the cooler he thought it was.
The team begins to see their goal of a manned launch on the near horizon.
We're checking off the last boxes, and I think we're not too far away.
But before taking to the skies, the suit needs to pass a critical final ground test.
We can test how the suit performs when it gets really cold by putting Alan in a chamber and dumping liquid nitrogen into the chamber.
This thermal test will ensure the suit can protect Alan from the extreme cold of near space.
That camera looks like it's about to go. We have lost the video feed here.
Evac.
Door.
Holy shit.
We're clear. Okay. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay.
The freezing temperatures of the sub-zero thermal chamber caused a problem with the communication system. But Alan seems okay.
All right, let's go ahead with depress. Purge valve open.
Man, that was exhausting.
Go.
Okay, are we good? No, I'm going to dinner this way. Boy, it feels really, really nice out here. Do you know that?
The team meets to decide if the thermal test met their goals.
All the 420 milliamp current sensors, they all went bad. Started reading high.
You said you found the problem. Excellent.
Yeah, I'm looking at the data. They all happened at the same time.
While the communication systems need work, the thermal chamber data and Alan's biometrics show that the suit handled the freezing temperatures perfectly and is well equipped to manage the temperature of the stratosphere.
Well, that deserves a round of applause, right?
For Alan's safety, the Stratix program is designed with safety gates. The team cannot move on to the next test until the current test has achieved its primary objectives. Now, after proving the suit can protect Alan in temperatures far colder than he will actually encounter in the stratosphere, the team packs up for a trip to the Arizona desert. There, Alan will take a plane up to 15,000 feet and attempt to be the first person in history to skydive wearing a spacesuit. But this isn't about records. It's an essential test to ensure Alan can open his parachute and maintain control of the 205-pound suit as he plummets back to Earth.
All these months of hard work really lead to passing this one final test. There's so many questions running through my mind right now. Are all the design calculations right? Is he going to be able to control himself during free fall? Is he going to be able to control the canopy with this bulky suit on? There's a lot riding on this.
You could plan, but you only really, it's the same thing as being a physician. Physicians probably know 20% of what they're supposed to know, and then they have to improvise the remainder of the 80%. Here, in this situation, we know maybe 2%. We haven't done it enough times to know what's the realm of possibilities.
All right, we'll go to execute today's operations.
So far, every step in the testing phase has gone according to plan. But within minutes, the team realizes their calculations are off. The door to the plane is too short for Alan to exit from while standing in the spacesuit.
Our original plan before we came here was to just do a standing exit. But when we actually looked at kind of the measurements, on the actual exit, it's going to come down to about right here. And so that presented a problem. How do we deal with that?
Now, they must scramble to find another way for him to safely exit the plane.
You want to do the knee exit, right? That's what you think is the best exit? I've never done just like knees lean forward on an exit before.
Because of the inherent dangers involved, the last-second changes have some crew members nervous.
Always done it this way, and now right at the last minute, we're going to do it completely different. I don't know, to me, it just throws up red flags. I want to see it here on the hangar deck before we do it.
While the jump team practices the new exit strategy with Alan, Jared notices a problem with the spacesuit.
Wow, it's done 3 different things the 3 times we've turned it on. Now it's frozen. The displays are definitely frozen.
The 4 LED displays on Alan's suit, telling him altitude, suit pressure, and left and right tank pressure, are frozen. And the source of the problem is a bit of a mystery.
There are 4 displays, and they tell me a bunch of different information about what the situation of the suit environmental system are. So without those LEDs, I don't know how much tank pressure I have.
When a major cornerstone of your system isn't working, you just can't launch.
This is going to be a lot of work, and we don't have a whole lot of time.
Which one supplies power to the boards?
While Jared and the engineering team try to fix the displays, Alan and the other divers review safety signals for the free-fall descent. Alan will be skydiving with the bulky suit for the first time, so nonverbal communication with his jump team is critical to his survival.
During the jump, we know wave off with 2 hands.
Yeah.
Problem is 1 hand.
If I do like this kind of thing, then you know that I need help in some way, and you guys just do everything for me.
Meanwhile, for Jared and the other engineers, their list of problems is growing longer, not shorter.
While I was working on the LED displays in the suit, I was tipped off to a potentially even bigger problem. The suit wasn't able to get a GPS fix, and if Alan were to stray off course, we wouldn't be able to pinpoint his location, and with a limited amount of oxygen in the suit, he could suffocate.
Desperate to find a signal, they move the suit outside to try to fix the GPS and display issues at the same time.
We're about to fire it up. We haven't done any sort of functional check since the thermal test. And I mean, there's all sorts of things that could have gone wrong in the thermal test. I mean, things could have contracted, chips could have pulled off boards. So you're not getting a link to the sky side. I mean, here's your antenna. Is there a better place we can put it?
The team needs the GPS to track Alan in case he doesn't hit the landing zone. However, everyone is confident he will. Nobody more so than Alan.
So our plan right now is to come in on this side, come around like that, skirt the buildings but not get next to them, and try to either go straight here or maybe do a slight turn to that direction.
Back outside, the engineering team runs a series of tests on the suit and determines the display problem is being caused by a bad connection. They review their options, including completely replacing the displays.
How long does it take to replace them once they get them here?
So 3 hours.
3 hours?
Day shot.
Okay.
The time needed to entirely replace the displays would scrap today's jump.
I'm tempted to try it again, that whatever was messed up seems to have cooled down.
At this point, we don't have any other options here.
Well, I think it's worth turning it off, leave it off for 5 minutes, and then power it on.
They decide to power down the suit, hoping a manual reset will resolve the problems.
If we have the comm link, we jump. If we don't have the comm link, we don't.
I'm set up for praying, if that would help.
We'll give it a few minutes, but maybe. It felt like the longest 5 minutes of my life. Ready?
Yep.
Big moment. Antenna's in, jumper's in.
Looks like we got good pressures. Notice they went up quite a bit. Warming up.
It all appears to be working.
The team has managed to overcome these last-second issues, but are they an omen of even bigger problems to come? With the displays and GPS up and running, the engineering team scrambles to reassemble the suit.
Copy, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Before suiting up, Alan needs to verify that the communication system is in good working order.
It's a little loud now, but I think that's going to be perfect in the suit.
Okay, I'm ready.
Is everybody clear? Everybody ready to go? Ready? Ready. Ready for helmet on.
Once the helmet is on, Alan may as well be on another planet. He is in a sealed environment and can only breathe the oxygen provided by his life support system. Alan's suit weighs over 200 pounds. Factoring in his body weight, he clocks in at 405 pounds, which means he needs help from several men to walk to the plane. But the real challenge will come when Alan is thrown out of the back of the plane at 15,000 feet.
There's really two stages to what we're trying to test today. The first is Alan's ability to exit the plane, control himself in free fall, and the second is his ability to control himself under canopy and land the parachute. If we can be successful at those two things, we've had a good day.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, go!
The team sets off, knowing that even the slightest miscalculation could jeopardize not only the project, but the very life of their pilot.
Is there risk? You know, there's definitely risk in anything we do. And there's certainly risk in this, because there's probably more unknowns than, say, driving to downtown Palo Alto for an ice cream cone. Some things are worth doing, and some things are worth trying. You know, trying to make progress always involves risk.
A team of safety divers, led by Blickies, will aid Alan with his exit from the plane, then free fall with him in case anything goes wrong.
We are 2 minutes to drop.
Okay, there's the 2 minutes call.
While on the ground, the recovery team waits anxiously.
Just taking 15,000 now.
Yeah, they're at 15,000 feet, so they're probably getting ready to jump. We're trying to get as many sets of eyes in the sky to see if we can acquire them.
There they are.
There they are.
Where? Right there. Just bordering the cloud deck there.
Yep. Got him.
Skyman 1, we are 1 minute green light.
1 minute.
Because Alan's suit is too tall for the plane's standing exit, he needs to assume a kneeling position and have the jump team push him out of the plane.
Jumpers away, jumpers away.
Almost immediately, the safety divers notice something isn't right. Alan is spinning, and he shouldn't be.
The first thing I noticed, he was turning. You can stick your arm out to stop a turn. He did, but it was not working. Spins are dangerous. You can lose consciousness, altitude awareness.
A safety diver reaches out and stabilizes Alan's descent. That's when they notice another, even more serious problem.
I saw him reach for his ripcord. He pulled it. It didn't release the parachute.
Alan has a redundant deployment handle for his main parachute in case of situations like this. But when he pulls the cord, the parachute doesn't respond. Unable to deploy his main parachute, Alan signals to his safety divers that he is in trouble, serious trouble. He's spinning to the ground at over 100 miles an hour, unable to deploy his parachute.
So I looked at my altitude. I knew that I had to get to that handle. I missed the first time.
Blickies tries again and again to reach either of Alan's parachute handles. Finally, he's able to reach the handle and deploy the chute. Now, safely under canopy, all that's left is for Alan to maneuver to the landing site.
I got 3 jumpers. 1, 2, 3. Yep, all 4.
Able to turn?
It isn't long before the ground crew notices something's very wrong. Instead of approaching the landing zone, Alan is drifting miles off course. towards open desert full of hazardous terrain and cactus, either unable to steer or unconscious.
Do we need to be moving people? Can he make the zone from where he is?
To make matters worse, the recovery team is unable to pinpoint his exact location.
After he left the plane, I noticed something laying on the ground of the aircraft. The entire data antenna had been sheared off by the door during his exit. Without the antennas, neither the GPS or the communications are working.
We don't have any connection with him at all. We're not going to be able to track him from the ground.
Get a vehicle to come pick me up. Hurry up.
Unable to get a GPS signal or communicate with Alan, the team has no way of locating his exact coordinates. The recovery team blindly rushes into the Arizona desert.
Alan, this is John. Can you give me a status?
Alan is alone in the desert, and if he can't get that suit open, there is a serious risk of suffocation.
This is fucked up, motherfucker!
Finding a single man in the miles and miles of open desert is literally like trying to find a needle in the haystack. In a situation like this, all the worst case scenarios are just running through my mind, and we just really need to find him as soon as possible.
Flight, this is Bot GPS car, looking to see if anyone's acquired him yet. Negative.
No one knows if Alan is unconscious, injured, or worse. Adding to the mounting list of problems is that Alan cannot remove his helmet. With a limited reserve of oxygen inside his sealed suit, there's the very real possibility he could suffocate if they don't find him fast enough.
Any aircraft working Coolidge, any aircraft working Coolidge. This is Stratex operations over.
In a last-ditch effort, the flight coordinator radios to see if any nearby aircraft can lend a hand in locating Alan.
We were really lucky there was a military helicopter flying nearby.
Roger, good morning, sir. We have a parachuter who's off the airfield. We're only in ground vehicles trying to acquire a field. Can you assist? Very large orange canopy with a white stripe, and the jumper is dressed in bright white.
We have your
Our helo has Alan in sight. If you can just give us between a 50 and 100-foot hover so all of our vehicles can close in on your pause.
The helicopter locates Alan miles from the planned landing site.
I can hear Alan.
Hearing Alan's voice means he's alive. Now it's just a matter of getting to him across this scrubby, unforgiving terrain. It's a heart-pounding race to reach Alan before his oxygen runs out.
There they are, to the right.
How you doing? Yeah, I think the crew is in worse shape than I am right now. I'm fine, I really am.
The first team members to reach Alan find him in surprisingly good shape and even better spirits.
Come on, here we go.
Woo! We got ya.
We're back, we're safe.
And look at all these cactuses I missed.
Thank you.
The control while you were flying was more difficult than we expected it to be. It wasn't like normal skydiving. Things that worked in normal skydiving didn't work in that environment.
I mean, thank goodness the helicopter was there.
Yeah, that was really good.
Because we'd have been searching.
So the exit of the plane, they weren't able to get me close enough to the edge, which is why I folded up and hit the tailgate. And that's when the antenna broke.
Did any of the spot stuff work at all?
We were trying to get GPS coordinates, but we never got a good set of coordinates before the helicopter.
But the GPS is only one of many things that went wrong today.
You know, I started into a little bit of a spin in one direction, and then I reached for the handle, and I pulled the handle, and the distance which I pushed it wasn't enough to deploy the main parachute, so that was a problem. Then when I got under canopy, the first thing I was going to do was reach up to grab the steering goggles, and then I realized I couldn't reach them, which had not happened in the test that we had done. Look at how deep that gash is. That's amazing. That was my landing gear part of it, you know? That was my nose wheel. I think I've learned enough for one jump that I think there's a few things we still need to work on.
My own truck.
As is with most engineering problems, you can often learn as much from failure as you can from success.
Well, the jump didn't meet its test objectives. That was clear. But it met a huge number of objectives in terms of the program. It was the first time that the suit had ever been used without a suit technician within 3 feet away. It was the first time it had ever been up in altitude. The first time we tested the telemetry systems and the radio systems.
The team also learned that having a helicopter nearby could be a lifesaver during an emergency.
Well, the last thing he said to me when I finally kissed him off and sent him on his way, he was like, "By the way, what's that guy wearing?" And I was like, okay, so I think everybody kept a good head on their shoulders. There was a lot of good thinking. The things we accomplished today, well, we put the suit out, and we flew the suit, and we landed the suit, and we've got a pilot back.
No matter how you spin it, Alan's life was in serious jeopardy today, a fact that isn't lost on the team.
We're dealing with a human life in this endeavor, and we all need to draw our own lines of what's an acceptable risk, and what are we trying to accomplish, and when is the risk of the thing that we're doing overpowering that potential accomplishment.
There's only 3 outcomes in this, right? He does the jump, he lives, he survives, and he's all is good. He does the jump and he dies. Or he does the jump and he comes back badly hurt, okay? In option number 2 and option number 3, the family will actually have a life-changing event.
After nearly losing Alan to the desert and coming close to destroying a one-of-a-kind spacesuit, many questions linger. However, one previous question just may have been answered. One of the biggest uncertainties has always been Alan. All the enthusiasm, desire, and money in the world can't mask the fact that he is, after all, a 57-year-old desk jockey and family man. Not typically the resume of your average space explorer, but Alan may have just shown the team exactly what he's made of.
With everything that didn't go exactly as planned, he really stayed heads up. To stay calm with all that stuff going wrong and just kind of think through the problem. We got the right pilot for the job here.
After the defeat in the desert of Coolidge, the team scrubs any thought of an immediate launch and heads back to the drawing board.
We haven't really demonstrated that our particular suit, our particular pilot, can fly it as it needs to be done.
We have a great team. We got a lot of people out there and that are worried about my safety. There's a lot of lessons learned, and I'd say, 80% of them are kind of obvious, and then 20% of them are not obvious right now. There's a few things that are still a little bit unknown, but we have ideas on solving those particular things.
The fact that he had a wife and kids definitely had a bearing on how we approach things. Part of what you would hear in the hallways is our job was to make sure that Alan got to see his kids grow up and graduate, and him and his wife could grow old together.
The team sets a new launch window for the following year. They will spend the next 12 months refining the system, with Alan's safety paramount.
What's interesting to me about what happened in Coolidge is that, everything went wrong. His antenna broke off, he couldn't open his own chute. Coolidge served the major role of going, oh my God, we're actually putting a human in a spacesuit and real shit can go wrong and we could kill someone.
The team redesigns the steering toggles and pressure knob to make them easier for Alan to reach. To stop Alan from spinning uncontrollably during free fall, they repositioned the attachment point of the drogue chute from the middle of his back to the upper part of his back.
We tested it by throwing steel dummies out the back of airplanes until we saw dummies that virtually didn't spin at all.
But perhaps the biggest innovation is a system called the Saber, which will unspool as Alan disconnects from the balloon. The Saber separates the drogue chute from Alan's body to to eliminate the possibility of tangling and should stabilize Alan's descent nearly instantly. But it's not just the equipment that needs to get better, stronger, faster. Alan could as well.
So he's constantly working both in the concentric motion and the eccentric motion, so he's shortening and lengthening the muscles. It's a lot of core work. We're working also kind of a lot of explosive, but at the same time, isometric.
Meanwhile, each new design of the suit and balloon is fabricated and rigorously tested.
When have you done enough? When have you tested it enough? When are you sure enough that everything's going to work?
I think the biggest challenge that I'm worried about in the suit is, like most things in space, or all things in space, you can test different aspects of the overall flight, but you can't test the combined effects. So you have to think about that in your head and say, is that going to work? But you've got no way to test it before Alan's actually there doing it.
After 12 long months and nearly 3 dozen safety tests, the team returns to the desert for another attempt at a successful skydive.
Just about everything's different about this jump. We're better trained, we've got repositioned and changed flight equipment. Mission control has been much more practiced, and Chase has better ideas what to do. So we've pretty much gone through and scrubbed every aspect of the mission, and we're ready to go again.
I mean, I felt like that, I felt confident that all those systems were gonna work, because I had tried them, I had tested. I was anxious, as you are with any new system, but I was more focused than I was anxious, because everybody had done this amazing job of getting all this equipment and things ready for me. And they were expecting me to be able to execute the things that I had said I could do, and you know, I didn't want to let them down.
Today is all about the aerodynamics of flying the suit and also the controllability of the canopy once the canopy is deployed. It's all about flying and landing today.
But as everyone on the ground knows, this is easier said than done.
Before Coolidge, it was like pulling teeth to get people to be really, really rigorous in their checklists. I mean, yes, sure, everybody had checklists, but, you know, little steps were missed in here and there. After Coolidge, everyone did their checklist, because, you know, you realize, holy crap, if I miss a step, that could have been the step.
But it wasn't just the mechanics of the jump that went wrong last time. After essentially losing Alan to the miles of open desert, it's paramount to develop a faster, more efficient system to track Alan's position during descent and landing. Tabor and the crew assemble a group of medics and pilots to make up the chase teams. But the suit is still too tall for a standing exit from the plane. To address this problem, the team attaches 2 rows of rollerblade wheels to the chest plate of the suit. This new design should allow the jump team to roll Alan up to the hatch and smoothly propel him into free fall without risking damage to the equipment. The future of the project rests on the success of this one test.
So if things majorly didn't go well and Alan can't control himself at all, or he can't deploy the parachute himself, we could be back at the design process for more months, tearing apart the system yet again. Whether the powers that be can tolerate that delay again is, you know, we don't know.
"12 months of work come down to this one moment.
flying that thing well.
From the ground, it appears the modifications are working and that Alan is in control. Alan steers the bulky suit into the dead center of the landing zone. All that's left is for Alan to pull off the pirouette landing he's been practicing. Alan hits the ground hard. The chase team rushes to the landing zone to see if he's okay.
Although it might have looked impressive to you, it actually didn't feel that bad.
Yeah. So the idea was that Alan was going to sort of land on one foot, turn around, and slide gently on his back. And what really happened was Alan tried to land on one foot and he flopped forward and did this really great bloom flop forward landing, which sort of looked horrific on the screen we were watching what was going on. And of course, Alan immediately waves, and he was in this roll cage of material around him. And turns out he hardly damaged the suit, and he was perfectly happy. So it worked out great.
Alan, I believe you set a world altitude record for rollerblades.
Yeah, exactly. I'm certain that's true.
All right, suit's good. Alan, you all right?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay, just had to make sure that...
I'm not in it anymore.
Make sure that you're not in the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Despite the rough landing, Alan successfully completed the skydive, and the team met all of their objectives, from controlling the spinning to opening the chute to steering the canopy to a successful chase and recovery. Everything went smoothly. Well, almost everything. After 3 additional test jumps to ensure that the suit and parachute are safe for flight and landing, the team moves towards their next milestone. This will be the first test of the entire system and will incorporate a new element crucial to the mission: a custom-designed balloon.
It's very hard to get above something like 70 or 80,000 feet in an aircraft. So you can get to just the very bottom layer of the stratosphere. But a balloon can take you pretty deep into the stratosphere, 135, 140,000 feet. So a balloon is fantastic for getting you there, and you can stay there for quite a while under a balloon. But it's also the least energy way of getting up there.
While a balloon may be the safest, simplest, and fastest way to carry an individual up to the farthest reaches of the stratosphere, a balloon system brings with it a host of new challenges. And like anything on this project, the slightest mistake or miscalculation can cause everything to go up in smoke. If weather played a big factor before, it is now pretty much the linchpin to the entire mission. As the team sees for themselves at an unmanned test, the slightest change in wind speed can tear a balloon to shreds. So it's crucial the team only launch in ideal weather conditions. But getting the balloon to go up isn't the team's only concern.
The main worry that I have is not really launch, but in taking down the balloon.
As outside pressure on the balloon diminishes during the ascent to the stratosphere, the gas inside will continue to expand. By the time the balloon reaches its highest altitude, it will be bigger than a football stadium. After Alan detaches from the balloon equipment module, it will continue floating through Earth's atmosphere.
The danger is that after Alan's left the balloon, if you can't end the flight, now I've got this object the size of a football stadium flying through airspace. And of course, air traffic control really doesn't like the idea of a football stadium flying through their airspace. And so the point is that we have to get this thing back on the ground as fast as we can.
To this end, the team developed a destruct mechanism to bring it back down to Earth. With less than 24 hours to go, the team meets to discuss logistics. This is the first time the entire system will be used together, so all departments need to be in sync. If one component fails, it could spell disaster for the entire system.
It'll take an hour to get up, and then it'll take...
Most of the descent time will be under canopy, about 2 minutes of free fall, and then 10 minutes.
So
nominally about 70-ish minutes, depending on what our ascent rate is under the balloon. All right, guys, let's have a good day tomorrow. Let's get some good rest in.
Think through your roles.
Do your job.
Alan is being attached to the launch system for the first time.
All right, he's hooked.
Now is the critical moment where the team sees if they can pass their first test, successfully launching Alan and the balloon into the sky. The launch goes off without a hitch, but the team isn't out of the woods just yet. It's the coming back down safely that weighs on everyone's mind. By the time he reaches his goal of 57,000 feet, the wind could be whisking him along as fast as 100 miles per hour. Alan is closing in on the target height of 57,000 feet, 18,000 feet higher than the cruising altitude of most commercial airliners. And now, for the first time, he will release from the balloon. It all comes down to this. Mission Control begins the countdown to Alan's release.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Go.
Pilot is away. 8 o'clock. Straight up.
Oh.
Oh,
He's
gone.
gone.
Free fall supposed to take 2 minutes, 32,000 feet, 16,000 feet a minute.
They have no visual on it. They don't have a video feed on it.
No, they don't. Shit.
Now that Alan is released, the team anxiously waits to hear that he has opened his parachute.
Guys, his parachute is open.
Parachute's open.
There it is.
Basically, now he just has to avoid power lines from falling in a giant hole.
With Alan under canopy, it's the chase team's job to locate his position and safely extract him, or, if necessary, offer immediate medical assistance. At this point, it's just been accepted that the landings are going to be rough. Just like with the plane jump, Alan sticks a perfect bad landing.
Chase, do you have any verbal from the pilot?
I heard voice from the pilot in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Are you ready? Is he depressed? We good? Depressed. Good to go. Okay, what's going off? Is off. Yeah!
He's good. Green extraction.
Green extraction means the pilot is okay. Buoyed by the success of the 57,000-foot launch, the team completes the rest of their low-altitude test flights. All that's left now is to make history. After 18 months, dozens of safety tests, hundreds of dry runs, tens of thousands of engineering hours, and a whole lot of coffee, the team gathers at midnight to begin preparation for Alan's historic launch.
Trying to mobilize. Good morning.
This is unbelievably exciting and incredibly nail-biting, but I also have incredible confidence in this team.
Somebody knocked on my door at 10:38. I fell asleep at 10:37.
After successfully proving the system at lower altitude, the team has the green light to go for the final 130,000-foot launch. But greater heights require greater risks and bigger equipment. The balloon Alan used for the 57,000-foot test was about the size of a 10-story building. The one that will take him to space will equal a football stadium. If everything goes right, Alan will be going higher and falling farther than any man in history.
So far, I feel pretty relaxed. I got a good sleep, 3 or 4 hours, which is exactly what I got on the previous flight, and so I feel good. When I finally land, I get down, that helmet gets off, that suit gets off, I'm going to be incredibly happy.
The chase team meets to discuss how weather would affect the mission.
Altitude of this flight is 138,000 or so.
Alan and the team feel like all their training has prepared them well for this historic flight. But certain elements, as always, are out of their control.
The thing that we're most worried about right now is ground fog.
Resident meteorologist Don Day has detected a strong chance of ground fog forming just before the launch window. This could reduce visibility and dramatically delay the chase team's response time.
As far as today's launch, we definitely have concerns. When it comes to the weather and every launch, there's always going to be a concern.
Glenn Patterson of Aero Western Helicopters has a plan for the fog.
So if we get out there and there's fog that rolls in on us, we're probably just going to park and wait.
In addition to the fog, the team must also worry about wind. Extreme wind could cause the balloon to tear during the launching process. If something goes wrong during the launch, but Alan is not high enough to deploy his parachute, the results could be catastrophic.
So we had what we call a black zone at the bottom of the flight, which is a point where Alan is high enough that a fall would be fatal, but not so high that the parachute has time to properly open. And we define that as somewhere about 2,000 feet.
But it's not just the launch that has the team worried. On descent, the strong winds could seriously jeopardize Alan's ability to safely reach the landing zone.
The only thing we have to be real careful of, it gets real nasty right here on this edge.
There's a sharp ridge there.
The sharp ridge, we've seen it 3 times, and it gets real nasty, so there's no way he can land past that ramp.
Just do your job. Great. Very good. Great. Thank you guys very much.
Just like at Coolidge, before the near-disastrous skydive test, these ominous signs have the flight crew on edge.
I'm not normally all that anxious of a person, but that was the one time that there was definitely some anxiety there.
This has got to be safe. Everything we do has to be about safety in this project, or we're not going to do it. And we both could walk away. That was the deal we made with Alan, actually, is that if we felt at any time this was unsafe, we could walk away, and him also.
While the team preps the balloon on the tarmac, Alan begins his pre-breathing regimen. During a pre-breathe procedure, Alan will spend up to 4 hours inhaling nothing but pure oxygen. This is a measure used to prevent decompression sickness. Decompression sickness is a condition caused by changes in barometric pressure, which causes nitrogen bubbles to form in the bloodstream and migrate to the rest of the body. The condition can be debilitating and is oftentimes fatal. The influx of oxygen from the pre-breathe will flush out all the nitrogen from Alan's blood and prevent the bubbles from forming during his supersonic descent.
This is what Zen looks like.
As Alan suits up, the team catches a break. The weather begins to clear, giving them a firm window to launch.
I felt like we were golden, and I thought we were just, totally on our way.
The team continues to prepare the balloon to be filled on the flight line.
Hey, what's going on out there?
The team races to put out the fire, but it's too little, too late for the fragile balloon. The engineers on scene quickly identify the culprit. The fire was caused by the fuse mechanism meant to bring the balloon down after Alan releases from it in space. Ironically, the device meant to save people's lives could have cost Alan his. Clearly, something went terribly wrong.
The exact same thing goes through everybody's head, which is, why did that fuse go then? What is screwed up, and can that screw up during flight or close to the ground? It is a scary thing. You can't help but think about why did that happen, and is there a chance it's going to happen at the wrong time?
It's a costly and demoralizing error.
It was just one of those things that you saw it happen and you knew what that meant. We were going to have to abort the mission at that point.
The team has no choice but to cancel the launch for the day.
I think we're going to debrief, and then we'll see what everybody feels about the weather and see if there's an opportunity tomorrow or not.
We were still, changing things right up to the last minute. And really the cause of the fire on the line was that there was development we were doing right up to that day, and things were changing, and we didn't get a software line right. And it sort of shows you one bit can make a huge difference.
With Alan's life on the line, there's no margin for error. But it's easy to make mistakes when you're physically and mentally exhausted.
Everyone who dealt with the software issue is 10 to 100 times smart enough to not mess this up. But when you're in this, I've been up for a while, I'm in this ops mode, that's the kind of degradation that occurs.
For the team, the fire is a grim reminder of just how dangerous this project is. But for Alan, it's a chance to reflect on all the things he's leaving behind on his trip to the stars.
I think what happened is it kind of brought into focus that this was really real. And I think, there's a huge amount of anxiety about, well, this is really frightening. And this is big risk. And you've chosen to really endanger yourself. And more importantly, if things don't go well, you are changing all of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about the possibility of death is something that you have to let into your mind for a program like this. And as engineers, we have to objectify that thing. And we use terms like single fault tolerant to loss of life, which is, you're in a nerdy way talking about someone dying.
It's not just an issue for crew morale. This costly mistake will set the project back hundreds of thousands of dollars and delay the launch until the next clear weather window. It could be days or months.
So people have asked me if Alan's in the middle of a midlife crisis, and my response to them is, this has been going on for years. The bad news is he's choosing to go out and threaten, he's basically risking his life. I think the hard part to handle is you've chosen a path that, might not balance the total picture.
This whole project, I mean, it was incredibly risky, right? I mean, there was a lot of danger involved. You know, the team worked incredibly hard to make it as safe as humanly possible, but it was still incredibly risky. I mean, there's a guy who's going to be falling from the sky at over 800 miles an hour, and you got to know you're going to land him safely on the ground. It became incredibly real and personal when you know, Alan is saying, okay, I've arranged for this airplane. If anything goes wrong, the airplane's going to go and get Kathy and bring her out. I'm like, oh. God, please make it so I don't have to call this plane. I mean, just...
Not knowing when the next weather window will arrive, the team stays on constant alert, ready to mobilize at a moment's notice.
So, this little group of clouds right here.
You're so focused on the mission and, you know, what could go wrong, what do I need to account for, is everything in place, what's happening? I once heard somebody ask Buzz Aldrin, what was it like to be on the moon? And he said, I couldn't tell you. I was so afraid of fucking up. That's all I worried about, was what I was doing.
2 of Alan's sisters have made the trip to Roswell for this historic launch attempt. Kathy and the kids will not be in attendance.
Alan's well suited to carry out the mission for a bunch of reasons, but I think the foremost of them are, you know, he's an engineer's engineer. He gets the engineering. You can talk with Alan about what's going on. He's incredibly patient and forgiving. You know, we all made lots of mistakes along the way, and Alan took them all in great stride. We even burned up a balloon once, and Alan was fabulous about it.
We really wanted this project to be under the radar because, you know, it forces you to do weird things sometimes if people are watching you. And I didn't want to have the team to be having to deal with the world watching them while they were doing these incredibly dangerous maneuvers, while they were really having to concentrate at every moment of what they were doing.
It's kind of like Lindbergh, you know, quietly underneath everyone's radar, he put together the Spirit of St. Louis and flying, you know, a solo flight across the North Atlantic. I sort of see Alan as the same kind of guy, you know, quietly building this team, hardcore, right stuff engineers, and I really admire Alan.
Make sure you turn on those FAI things.
All right. Yeah, we will.
After a few days of waiting out some rough winds in the desert, the team finally gets the weather report they've been waiting for.
Don said that if we don't launch today, it won't be the weather's fault.
All the checks we've done so far have looked good. Alan's pre-breathing. He's going to be done in about 20 minutes.
And what music has he chosen for pre-breathe today?
I think he's just shuffling Simon and Garfunkel.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Within the sound of silence.
Very nice.
Today is an exciting day, the opportunity to perhaps, you know, break the Red Bull record and go even higher.
I think we're entering a really exciting period for space exploration. This is the first fundamentally new suit in almost 30 years. And it really looks like that it's not too far away that we're going to be venturing again out into deep space.
Oh my God, this is insane.
With the balloon filled and Alan in place, the team awaits the final go-ahead before the historic launch.
So 5, this is Chase to confirm you have clear from 15 miles.
The launch, this is flight, Don is saying that this is as good as we're going to get. So we have a go-ahead to proceed.
Good luck, guys.
Alan. We'll see you in a few, man.
And we're now passing through 2,000 feet AGL and out of the black zone. Pilot flight, just to let you know, you are now consistently above 1,000 feet per minute descent rate. Your external air temperature there is minus 86. You're about 64,000 feet. You have also now passed into the stratosphere.
Balloon heading at 080 at 110 miles per hour.
Pilot, this is flight testing now through 90,000 feet. Pilot, flight, you are now passing through 131,000 feet.
That's an unofficial reading of a new official record.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, I know. I was like, so lost in me. Oh my God, we're about to do the, and that's why you released.
As Alan calmly floats past the point where Felix Baumgartner leapt from, he takes in a view no man has ever seen before.
I feel good to tell you guys how beautiful it looks up here.
Great. Awesome. I can only imagine.
You are now passing through 135,000 feet. Just to let you know, we have clearance from the FAA for a drop, and our intent is to drop you when we get to floats. This is a flight. We're going to go ahead and do a release now.
And then, of course, when you get to the countdown when he's gonna be released, and the first thought is, oh, please let him be released. Let's just hope he doesn't get stuck up there.
Can I get a verbal confirmation?
That is sort of the, one of the scenarios that, kept us up very late at night worrying about, because the inability to release Alan from the balloon is a big deal. There's no real other way to get him down.
On my mark, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We lost the data.
Now, this is Lord. We just heard the balloon from him coming down.
going way too fast for canopy.
No seeing a canopy.
You are below full altitude. Full green parachute.
Flare, 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 flare. Keep flaring, flare, flare, flare.
Got pilots on the ground, now waiting for
Extraction call. 0.5 miles.
Is this a chase truck? How's your lift?
That's a it's all quiet. Can we go back to silvering now?
Big success. Everything worked perfectly. I very often get asked, why do you have humans? Why do you even design human spacecraft? Robots can do it all. And I usually ask them, so name me the first robot to land on the moon and what country was it from, and nobody can answer it. I think StratX reinvigorated the country and maybe the world to some degree on, yeah, these type of cool things can be done.
I'd say it was one of the most, probably the most incredible experience of my life so far, and I've never worked with a more amazing group of people and created something that is such an amazing celebration of what people are capable of. It was super, super awesome. Really fucking cool.
So the first thing I might do after he comes back from the jump is I might slug him. Google executive survives stratospheric jump attempt, but is in critical condition because wife ran out and decked him on the tarmac.
No doubt.
Oh, fabulous.
No, great. Okay, hey, my sister's here. Good to see you, both of them.
Oh, I'm so happy.
What was it like up there? It was amazing. It was really nice. It was beautiful. They had the darkness, you know, basically you could see the darkness of the space. You could see the atmosphere.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I feel a little tired. But given all the hard work that we've done this whole team has done for an incredible amount of time, you know, to finally, you know, reach it, it's really special. So thank you all. Yay.
Besides breaking the record for highest altitude jump and total freefall distance, the StratX team also pioneered several major technological innovations. The first of its kind suit Alan wore is headed to the Smithsonian Aerospace Museum, where it will be studied and adapted for future atmospheric exploration. And the unique drogue dual parachute system used to keep Alan from spinning is being looked at closely as a safety mechanism for high-altitude space tourism, as well as military applications. What started out as a dream and a sketch on a napkin ended up beginning a new era of stratospheric exploration, with a record-breaking trip to the stars for the most unlikely of explorers.
This is Sports Center.
Google executive Alan Eustace, way up high, higher than Wiz Khalifa. Stratosphere, 25 miles high, 135,000 feet. Broke the sound barrier. This guy's nuts.